Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome along. Monday night, 8 p.m. can mean only one thing. The Online Darts Live Lounge returns, episode 222. Here we go for the next few hours. Myself, Phil Bars, and Dan Simpson are going to talk you through all things darts, and it is brutal. But before we get underway, massive congratulations to one of the team, Cam McFarlane, who tied the knot at the weekend. Him and Rachel, many congratulations to the pair of them, and I hope they have a great honeymoon. ECT. Don't be too long, though, because we've got full-out bars to do. Only joking. Dan, how we doing, my friend?
All right, mate. Yeah, not so bad. Yeah, busy. It's been a busy old time. I was lucky to be over at the wrong side of the Pennines at Cam's wedding this weekend. So me and Mrs. S, we got a bit of a weekend away. We had a particularly vibe. It was loads of fun. We had a good time. Lots of nice food, lots of good drink. Managed to stay in a decent hotel for a couple of nights. Yeah, it was really, really good. Work is very busy. Discussed like incredibly busy, but this is what work is, isn't it? I wouldn't call it work otherwise. And there's quite a bit going on in the old darts world as well. It doesn't let up, does it? And you could look at this and think, well, maybe we'll get away. We'll have a nice. I said, we'll have a nice little show. We can preview the Euros. There'll be nothing much else going on, and then there's always somebody always likes to give us a bit extra to talk about, don't they? They don't think that 2 hours is busy enough that we have to try and shoehorn a few more bits in there as well. But it's all good. How are you down there?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good. Like I say, we're busy streaming the Pro Tours. Then we had a one-night event in Stevenage, then come back for the European Tour, which was good. Quite sad that the 2025 European Tour is now over. 14 wonderful events, and we've got to wait, I think it's something like 127 days for it to recommence. But look, the greatest tour in professional sport is concluded for the year. And look, Nathan Aspinall's kind of stole the show, I'd say.
He has, and let's be honest, it is quite unusual because we've spent so much time in the last year talking about Nathan's form, and obviously we've seen that huge amount of money that he wasn't able to defend at the match play, and there's been huge question marks over Nathan's game and what he is still capable of, and we've seen glimpses of it this year, but predominantly, other than that one night in Manchester for the Premier League, like most of the really high quality we've seen from him has been on the Euro Tour. He has found a bit of a groove, and he's found a way to win. That's the third one of the year. He goes into the European Championships as the number one seed, and he's definitely fine. He's found a sort of pocket of this PDC tour that he has managed to just consistently play very well. It's been most impressive.
Yeah, before we dive into that, let's say good evening to the chat room because it is rammed already. Kay, how we doing? Malachi is in. Dale, how we doing? Christmas tree emojis. Love that, my friend. Daniel, good evening. Kieran, how we doing? Owen, Warren, Video Smurf. Paul, how we doing? Paul is in as well. Mark, good evening, my friend. Connor is in from Spain. Joel James says, live lounge, baby. Yes, we know. David is in from New Zealand. Shelty, how we doing? Wayne says, good evening. All. Rob is in. I'll tell you what, it is rammed. Stu, how we doing, my friend? Hope you are good. Dave says, good evening, lads. Owen is in. James is in. We've got a busy show.
Night, isn't it? It's a busy night in the chat room.
We have got a busy old show, and I am 100% down for it. But look, let's jump straight into it. Nathan Aspinall, 3 Euro Tour wins. And look, across the weekend, look, a lot of the big guns were missing. However, that's irrelevant. You can only beat what's in front of you. And the performances Nathan put up, arguably, whether they were there or not, wouldn't have made a difference because he was brilliant. But at times, he was gritty. He was determined, and other times there was massive averages. He was bold, brash, brazen. At times, the swagger was there. You name it. We saw all elements from Nathan Aspinall this weekend.
Yeah, it was. You're right. It was a bit of a mixed bag. Obviously, started that monster average just shy of 104 in the opening round sort of set the tone. It got even better in that second round against Ross Smith, 107.5 average. Like, huge. It feels a long time since we've been able to talk a lot about the sheer quality when Nathan's played that. So a lot of the time it's been that, gritty win. He's dug in, he's found a way. But, he was absolutely fine. I mean, Ross Smith played great, but couldn't land, he just couldn't really challenge that throw Nathan Aspinall when he's averaging that high. It then got even better, just shy of 111 average. Stephen Lennon must be, he's been absolutely bashed around, averaging 95. It really, really was. And then, as the tournament got a little bit deeper, that's when we saw, this is where we saw everything from Nathan Aspinall, because we saw that huge high ceiling of him just being able to produce elite darts and that, if you're averaging 111 on that day, unless somebody, and there's 2 or 3 players in the world maybe can pull themselves up to there. If you get to that point, you are virtually going to be untouchable. But then when things got hard and when, you are going absolutely blow for blow in the semi-final with Jan van Veen, that 6-5, that's 7-6 deciding leg victory. I do think over the course of the weekend, we saw everything from Nathan. And what a time in the year to, if you are going to go, lose your form for a period of time, now is the time to get it back. Really important. And yeah, very, very impressive, because we saw all of the things that a dart player can do well. That's what we saw. We saw that gritty determination, finding a way to win. We saw the monster performance. We saw the coming in as a heavy favourite and not being dragged into a game by your opponent. It was very, very impressive. Very impressive.
Yeah, we'll touch more on Nathan in a minute. But again, there's some people that I want to talk about. I want to talk about Dirk van Duijvenbode in particular. Look, yes, he's probably gutted. He's lost in the final, but we are seeing signs of vintage Dirk once more. 101 to beat Sedlacek. Then that monster 117, 7-4 in a demolition job of Chris Dobie, who's averaged 105 himself. Solid 98 to beat Snakebite. 96 to beat Ratajski. This is the form of Dirk 2.5 years ago when we were talking about him in, hang on a minute, he is Premier League material. And it looks as if now, after that long battle against injury and everything else, 9 darter en route as well, that he is almost back to that brilliant best where we are talking about Dirk for a lot of things.
Yeah, I think, and it's interesting, we come up to we've got the European Championships coming up, and it was, a couple of years ago, 2022, he had a deep run with semi-final, I think, in there. And that was the time, that was the year when we saw a few. I think we were at a World Series final, and we just seemed to see him making big runs on telly fairly regularly, and that has been severely lacking. I know there's been injury problems and there's been other things going on, but I think he's teased it. We've had this conversation a few times probably over the last 18 months, and I think have maybe been a bit keener than I have to sort of call him being back. There's a few times you've gone a bit early, I think, in is this it? Is he back? Is he back? And I'll be honest, I've almost consistently sort of knocked you back and said, I'm not quite seeing it, just not just yet. And I think for the first time in this sort of down spell in this 18 months, I'm sort of willing to go with it and sort of accept that, what I've seen is sort of what I've been waiting for, what I've been looking for him, that quarter-final run at the Grand Prix. It's not just that he made a quarter-final. It's the way he looked playing darts, even in defeat. He just looked twice the player that I think we've seen for in the last year. I think he really looked at it. And again, at the hockey, the throw looked really good, but I think just the way that he handled himself, I think even some of the way that he spoke in his interviews with you, I think was a little bit different to what we'd seen in the last year or so. And I'm willing to buy it. I'll take it for now. I'll stick with it. We'll obviously come a little bit later to talking about the European Championships, but like I think it's a big opportunity for him. I think it's potentially the part of the bracket that he's in, the quarter that he's in, I think is fairly open for a player like him if he turns up. And I think if he starts to gather a bit of form, again, it's the right time of year for it. And I don't think there's a lot of people that won't be happy to see him playing his best.
Mind you, one thing no one had, and if you say you did, you are lying, all of you. No one had on their 2025 bingo card was a collaboration between Dirk van Duijvenbode and Christoph Ratajski, giving it the old on the walk-on. No one had that on their bingo card, but I'm all for it.
I see. I am sorry again. I am the spoil sport, but there are a big list. There are a big list of darts walk-on songs that I would happily just sneak in and break the CDs of. The last remaining copy, I'd break and scratch the CD, and that is one of them. I'm afraid it doesn't quite make it as high up the ladder as Sweet Caroline in terms of it needing to be eradicated from all sports. But I can't get away with that, I'm afraid.
I don't like it, but the fact that Ratajski was the last person I'd like to go in the old Euro, whatever.
Well, all it's done is make me lose a little bit of respect for Christoph Ratajski's taste in music, because I had some hope for Christoph. I thought he was, I thought with the quo, I think I thought he's yes, it's a bit old fashioned, but at least it's proper music. And there is a little bit of, I think that little bit less of Christoph having witnessed that collaboration.
I'm going to talk about Peter Wright for a minute, because there has been some false dawns, shall we say. Then look, we've seen Peter play well for a game and we think, and then he drops off. However, this weekend, for the first time, there was an element of consistency that I liked about Peter's game. Look, he lost 6-5 to Dirk in the quarterfinals, but he's averaged best part of 97, best part of 95, 90. There was a lot to like about Peter, and in big moments, like in deciding legs, he produced. Now, I'm not going to get all giddy and say we've got snake bite back, but there are good signs for Peter and Peter Wright fans that, hang on a minute, this quest that, look, a lot, including myself, questioned whether Peter could get back to those heights. But has he just shown over the weekend that, hang on a minute, there is still some hope and there is still some time for Peter to perhaps go and do something in the next 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, it was nice. It was good to see. And then again, I think what I quite enjoyed was Peter winning matches that I wasn't sure he would. And that's where I think we've been lacking a little bit. And he's looking at a game and sometimes thinking, it's going to be a real struggle for Peter. It's going to be a tough game, and then it almost going the way that you predict. So I think seeing him overcome games and seeing him come through games that I think he's not the favourite for was really impressive. I thought the way the throw looked good. It seems, as you say, even in defeat, it was just the deciding leg. He played particularly well. It was a bit of a toss of a coin. It sort of could have gone either way, that one. And if he goes through that, we then start to, if Peter Wright gets through that deciding leg, we start to look at that tournament as a really impressive outing for Peter. I think that one leg is probably the difference between a decent outing and a really good outing. I think he's good. The European Championships looks tough in terms of I think he's been not shafted, but I think the bracket there are easier brackets. I think it's quite a tough quarter that he's in. But if I don't know a person that wouldn't be filled with joy to see Peter Wright slapping people around on a dartboard again, even temporarily. And I think I think that Peter will be able to consistently reach the level that we saw, at his very best? Then probably not. However, what the role that I would love him to sort of not so much fill, because I don't want that role to be emptied at the minute. I want him to join. I want Peter to sort of join Gary Anderson where Gary's at the moment, where like Gary sort of frightens us back from picking against him, because even when the form isn't particularly consistent, we sort of know that he can just still turn up and go wild, and that's where I think Peter can. If I think of where he can get back, I think that's what it is. It's maybe not consistently, top 4, top 6, but I just think that where Gary Anderson has found himself in recent, in the last couple of years, I think that is almost like the perfect target for Peter is to be able to find it, and when he finds it, be really dangerous, because at his best he's so good. But I'm not sure that consistency over months and years comes back to sustain that ranking.
Yeah, like you said there, it's the Gary role, because look, come the Worlds, everyone will be like, you don't want to draw Peter, because in the back of your mind you're saying, yes, if he turns that on,
right?
Hang on a minute, like being Luke Humphries at the Worlds last year, we saw a glimpse, and all of a sudden you go, oh, is Peter the floater in that draw that all of a sudden becomes a danger again, and so on. Like you say, like with Gary. Good evening, Johnny. Whereabouts in Devon are you, mate? Because you might not be a million miles from me. Hope you're having a good time. Josh, how we doing, mate? We'll touch more on Nathan shortly. Evening, Matthew. Hope you are good, buddy. But yeah, look, this last European tour has set it all up as well, because the big guns were missing. There are people that have stepped in, like your Van Veens, your Wrights, your Dirks. Now all of a sudden, we're talking about Dortmund this coming week, maybe with a little bit of a different concept, as in before it was like, yeah, they'll win. Where now we go, hang on a minute, what could happen here? And so on. So I think that this European tour has set the stage brilliantly for what is going to be an unbelievable back end of the year.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's I normally start to get excited around the Grand Prix, because we know we're into that. But now we're in it. Like, we can really feel it at this point. Kind of like it is thick and fast. Big money coming in, up for grabs. Big money dropping off. Lots of this is where the changes start to be made, and then people are getting their hands on trophies. And I think the European Championships traditionally, it is a tournament that, even when we see, other players having dominant years, we have recently seen Littler and Humphries mopping up everything. But if you look back over the European Championships for, well, certainly the last 5, 6, 7 years, it's a bit rogue. We often do see something a bit interesting. Last year we saw something very interesting enough that the lad's not back to defend his title. And I don't just mean, in Richie Edhouse winning, but, Jermaine Watermina making a final. Not many people predicted that at the beginning. We've seen Peter Wright, when he wasn't in a great deal of form doing anything else, pick up this trophy. We've seen Ross Smith in recent years pick up this trophy. Like, there are strange things that can happen at the European Championships, and I am all for it. The more chaotic, the better.
Yeah, completely. Evening, Claire. Hope you are good. Right, back to Nathan Aspinall before we look ahead to the European Championships and so on. It took him 10 years to win one. Then we get 3 in a year. Now, I was talking about this at the weekend, and I want to get your opinion on it as well. And it involves the ranking system being 18 months, 2 years behind. Because right now, is Nathan the 21st or 22nd best player in the world? Absolutely not. If you'd have said 2 years ago, when he was going through his absolute injury nightmare, his battles mentally with dartitis and whatever, you'd probably say, is he? Yeah, probably. Mm-hmm. But at the moment, he's obviously where he is because of that 2-year cycle. Now, is this a danger for everyone else and a flaw, another flaw in that ranking system? Because one of the top players, as in ranked in the top 10, are going to run into Nathan early, when if the ranking system was truer, you'd meet later on?
Yeah. Yes, I mean you're right. You are correct, of course. Like I have always been a huge supporter of the notion that everything in the previous 12 months you carry 100% of in your ranking, and everything in sort of month 12 to 24 looking back over, you carry 50% of. I think it's a much more fairly balanced way of weighting the rankings in terms of where people are currently at in terms of form. I think you would get a better representation of form within the seedings. So like that I don't think really there's a sensible argument against that being the case. But it does make it a bit wild sometimes, and like
it's going to manifest chaos.
We've seen some rather interesting first round draws in recent years. I'm thinking of the match play. Not like the year gone past, and you get that draw comes out, and you end up with a Michael Van Gerwen against Luke Littler, and sometimes seeding things and assigning money in certain ways. I know there's draws involved as well, but obviously there's a big impact on ranking and seedings. But yeah, I think you would eradicate most of that if you did go to that system of last 12 months is 100%. The 12 months before counts for 50%. You're still winning the money. I think it's not. I'm not suggesting paying. People are still picking up the money. It's just how it's counted in that ranking. And correct. I also think in terms of because all the ranking is there historic, you could turn it on overnight. You could get to the end of the world, you could turn that system on overnight, and you could have a new order of merit straight away, but it would immediately work. And nobody could argue. There's players might fly down and there's players that might fly up, but you would immediately just be able to say, yeah, but it's fair. It's a fair reflection of your form, isn't it? So
this is a good point. I was going to get onto this, but Jamie's beat me to it. That because of the way this is done, a player that has won 3 European Tour events at the start of next season will be unseeded for the European Tour. Now, that doesn't sit right because he's going into the European Championships, the number 1 seed. That ranking and that seeding is based on 12 months of the European Tour. Nathan Aspinall has been the best player. Yet come ET1 in February, he is going to be unseeded. That doesn't sit right.
Yeah, but that's like saying that you should be. That's like saying that if you finish top of the Premier League, you should be seeded, for some other tournaments. I just think it's like he has done particularly well in 3 tournaments in Germany. I think he's played well in Germany. Unfortunately for Nathan, the reason he's ranked where he is he hasn't done a great deal else. Like, if he'd defended some of that 200 grand that he couldn't defend in Blackpool, if he defend like some of that other money, he hasn't picked up because the only real time he's played well is in those 3 events in Germany. Oh, there's the snippets, but that's predominantly where we look back over the last year and say, well, where's the highlights for Nathan? Well, they are them. Now, if he has earned through those 3 victories the right to go into this tournament as the number 1 seed and qualify for that tournament. But it's an annual tour, isn't it? And at the end of the year, it resets. You don't go into the Players' Championships next year any better off because you've had a better year this year, do you? It's not how it works. It is what it is. We ain't going to see an unpicking of those Euro Tour rule changes. They are what they are. So if you want to get there, like I don't think Nathan will make too many excuses. I think he knows he should be in the top 16, and I'd like to think he wouldn't feel unfairly dealt with by not being there because he hasn't won enough darts matches where it mattered.
Evening, Gob, hope you are good. One thing on Aspinall before we move on to the European Championships. Where does Nathan need to be in those world rankings come January the 3rd to be in the conversation for what?
4th. Get him in the conversation. Realistic. Well, So I think for Nathan, I really don't think it matters the specific number in those rankings. I think
he's got to do less than others because of how popular he is.
correct.
He's got to do less than some others to get in, which is why I was asking, what's the lowest number he has to be in consideration in that board meeting when they pick the 8?
Well, I think he has to win a trophy. That I legitimately think it doesn't matter where Nathan gets to. I don't think a deep run gets him anywhere. I think he's got to put a pot in his hands. What's the lowest value pot we've got between now and then? Is it 120?
I think the players might be.
He's not going to win that. Right. Where would he get to with what's your now? 380. So we've got to. He doesn't enter the conversation outside the top 10. Doesn't even enter the conversation. Not with going price at 11.
See, I think
15. I don't think he enters the conversation unless he's in the top 10.
See, I think he does. I think if he's in that top 16, he's in the conversation because of how popular he is, how he loves it on that stage. I think outside the top 16, I can't justify it. Inside that top 16, I think he enters. I'm not saying he gets picked, but he enters the conversation.
And what is he off at? So he's 40 grand.
And with the increased prize money at the Worlds.
Yeah, I'm just looking at his Searle Detector, Peter Wright, Schindler, Chisnell, Van Veen. I mean, it's due. I mean, looking at the players above him, to get, the 40 grand to bridge the gap above Peter Wright, probably. I think if you've got Jan van Veen ranked above him, and you've got Gezi Price ranked above him, and Josh Rock ranked above him, and Johnny Clayton ranked above him, and James Wade ranked above him, plus your top 4, and then you're already making shuffles with recent Premier League players not being considered, the likes of Rob Cross, Chris Dobie, Danny Noppert will remain a threat. And I know that a lot of people, but he remains a threat of getting his hands on something. And I'm not suggesting that he jumps to the front of the queue of getting in, but what he does is he adds, if he wins something, and we know he can get to the end, but if he wins something, then he puts his name in the conversation. And I think the more names that are in the conversation, if one of them is ranked 16th and the rest of them are all in the top 12, then it becomes a very, very different conversation.
How are we doing, Greatest Showman? Right, so my argument with this is, we all know, and Matt Porter has said it himself, that certain players have to do more and certain players have to do less to be picked. That was his words. Now, and I'm going to use the two, I don't want to say unfashionable, but the two that perhaps aren't as charismatic or as charismatic on stage. I'm going to use Johnny Clayton and James Wade. Now, Johnny has got to one TV final this year, maybe a semi-final. James has got to 2 finals. Now, if between now and then, Nathan Aspinall has won 3 European Tour events, let's say he gets to a TV final and the World Championship semi-final, all of a sudden, those 3 seasons, when you look at them, aren't too dissimilar.
No, they're not.
And then you're saying, right, okay, we are going to 17 incredible arenas to put on a show. Does Nathan Aspinall then bypass Johnny Clayton and or James Wade? When you're looking at their years in total and that recency bias, because people will look at the back end of the year and they will remember more what Nathan Aspinall has done instead of the Masters, the UK Open and so on.
I think
all of a sudden, is he in the front of the queue?
I think that it could be used in order to give him the place that deservedly belongs to James Wade. But and I think for me the answer would be and I think it depends on if James Wade and Johnny Clayton, bomb out in the first round of the World Championships and get nowhere between now and then, because you have to also factor in that those players might have a decent run as well. And if Nathan has a semi-final, James gets to a quarter-final, he's won one more game than him, he's not going to catch him up close to him money-wise, but because, of course, getting to a semi-final, great, you've got 200 grand, and that, very, very impressive. But it's only 100, it's only actually 100 because, that your competitors that got to the quarterfinals have made the same progress as well. For me, no, because I think that darts deserves a year of James Wade in the Premier League.
Okay, that's you, Dan, the darts fan. Now I'm going to say, put your business head on. Now I want you to think of this as Dan with your commercial hat on, as if you would at work.
Yeah.
Who are you picking?
Is it sold out yet?
They only went on sale today, and 12 out of the 17 venues have already sold out, which we'll touch on later.
Fine, then I can have who I want. I can put me and you on. Commercially, I can have anybody. It's already sold out. I could cancel half of those events. It doesn't matter. I could cancel half the players from most of those events. I can stick in someone cheaper. For me, I still think James Wade has a commercial pull. I genuinely do. I think he is one of the most famous dart players that there is. And I also think that he's been around for a long time as well. And I think more people, I think that everybody who knows who Nathan Aspinall is probably knows who James Wade is as well. But a few more people might know who James Wade is. I might be wrong. I might be completely getting it to cop. But I think that what darts sometimes doesn't do well enough. And you bring it up quite a lot, but you've brought it up a few times about how, and people don't like us making the reference, but I'll get to a really sensible point. Like where the WWE does very well in making people tune into their product is they don't particularly sell competition, they sell stories very well. Now, what I've always thought darts needs to do a lot better in is selling stories. And I think at the minute, if you were to like commercial hat on, if you said to me, right, you've got a production company and you've got a sports channel, who can you tell the best story of for this year? I'd say I can tell a better story of James Wade and I can make more people care about watching him. And then next year, I can tell a redemption story of the comeback of Nathan Aspinall if his game's where it should and needs to be. And I would like that. I would think like commercially, I can promote James Wade because he's got a story. Like there is a story to James Wade. He's been missing from the Premier League for how long? Like, and what has he gone through, and what does it take him to get back here? Like, I think from a commercial point of view, if you think of eyes on the telly, like it doesn't next. So because if people, I think so. The case for Nathan Aspinall is often he's a nice lad and he's got a good song. Well, let James Wade come out to Mr. Brightside then. Like if that's what it's about everyone singing Mr. Brightside. I think that's my view on it. I think commercially, what darts could do better at is telling stories. Because that's what makes a lot of people watch for the darts, and the people that watch for the darts will be entertained by it. And then people have fallen in love with the story of Luke Littler. That's what it is. It's not just watching him play darts. It's the story. It's all of the sort of the background that goes into it, the fact of his age and the fact he's doing it so quickly, the fact of the players that he's done it against, the way in which he plays the games, the way he comes from behind, the finishes that he goes for. It's a story that hooks people and keeps them and makes them to. And I think if you can tell more stories during the Premier League, you will encourage more people to tune in every week rather than keep saying it's the same people playing the same matches every week. Well, tell stories around it, make it better. That makes sense. Or is it nonsense?
I think it's a great talking point, which is why it's great to discuss it. Good evening, Roblet. There's a lot of chit chat around Beau in the chat room. Don't worry, we will come on to her brilliance in a little while. It's on our list about to talk to. But from the last European tour, let's go straight to the European Championships. And I must say thank you very much to the PDC. I didn't have time to make one. So if I go like this, we can see the draw.
Oh, well done.
Well done, chaps. For the European Championship this weekend. That is the draw bracket. And look, all eyes have to be on quarter two, right? We'll touch on it more in a minute. But when you've got
disgusting, isn't it?
Luke Littler, Raymond van Barneveld, James Wade against Mike De Decker, Luke Humphries against Christoph Ratajski, and Gary Anderson against Cameron Menzies. We don't need to manifest chaos. That draw has done it. That is fucking brutal.
Yeah, it's savage, isn't it? And that is why, these European Tour events, they are completely rogue. We get it does some strange things with these seedings. Some very, very strange things indeed. And the quarter three looks incredibly tame in comparison. But yeah, quarter two, that is absolutely savage. Certainly those four players on the right hand side: Luke Littler, James Wade, Luke Humphries, Gary Anderson. If that's an exhibition, then get me a ticket. Those four, like that, they are arguably four of the most watchable players in darts, and the level that they're all hitting regularly is very, very high as well. So yeah, I'm very impressed with that. I mean, it makes for, like you say, complete and utter carnage, which is why we could see some rogue things. We've seen some unusual things happen in the European Tour Championships in recent years, and we could very well see some strange things again with a draw like that.
Yeah, it's absolutely chaos, that draw. Just absolutely superb. Evening, Paul. He says had a couple of points with Dan at Cam's wedding.
I'm glad he's. I think he's rounding down to a couple. I think he's definitely. Certainly when I check my bank account on Sunday morning, I definitely think he's rounding down.
So, chat room as well. I want you to get involved in this. What is your standout round one tie in the European Championships?
Ooh.
What is the one that you go, yeah, that's the one?
There's a lot of potential here, isn't there? There's a lot of potential here. Right. I'll give you my short list, and then I'll tell you which one it is. But it needs both of them. They've got to both turn up. But I like the 2 All Dutch ties. I like Dirk against Danny Noppert. I think that's a good opening. I think it's hard. It's a nightmare for both of them. I think it's a really horrible game for both players. And Wessel Nijman against Michael van Gerwen. I think again those two meet, and I think that's another brutal tie for both of them. I think Jan van Veen and Damon Heta could. I mean, it could be superb, or one of them could be superb. I really want. I want Bunting Dobie to be good. I really need it to be. I'm going to go with that. I've got to try. If they're both at it, then that could be immense. It really could. So I'm going to go for that.
I'd really like Anderson Menzies.
See, the only thing with that is I think we might have seen it a couple of times. I say that as a man who's just picked Bunting and Dobie after, because we've not seen that enough in the last few years, have we? Yeah, harder for me to get excited about that one.
Yeah. Anthony is in. How are we doing? I hope you are home. I hope you are home safe and sound. Don't worry, we'll be talking about Mr. Spellman more
we'll
later
get
on.
to that.
Oh, don't you worry about that one. But I hope you are good, mate. It was great talking to you over the weekend. You boys did an amazing job in North America, and we will come on to that later in the show. So let's break down the quarters. Section 1 of that draw, who have you got coming through Section 1? Chat room, get involved with this as well.
So Section 1, we've got...
While you talk, I'll read the chat room the game. Section 1, Nathan Aspinall against Rob Cross, Dirk van Duijvenbode against Danny Noppert, Josh Rock against Riccardo Pietrezco, and Nico Springer against Jermaine Watt-Mina. That is Section 1. Who gets through that section?
Josh Rock beats Danny Noppert in the quarterfinal.
Okay.
Which I know is probably picking favourites. Like that's I'm picking bookies' favourites through a bracket. But again, I find when the form and the rest of the quarter is a mixed bag, I find it's hard to pick against Josh Rock at the minute. He turns up and the form's not amazing right throughout that quarter. But Danny's been solid, and I think he'll probably just work his way through. So I think Josh Rock beats Danny.
Interesting. I am going for the winner. I think Danny Noppert plays Nathan Aspinall in round 2, and I think the winner of that comes through it, and I'm edging Aspinall just because he's on such a high. But I agree. I think Danny Noppert is literally the spoiler in Section 1 for me. Chat room loving it as well. Section 2, good luck with this. Luke Littler against Raymond van Barneveld. James Wade against Mike De Decker. Luke Humphreys against Christoph Ratajski. And Gary Anderson against Cameron Menzies. This is absolutely savage.
In these situations, I always pick Littler, but not today. Not today. Not in Germany.
Well, I'm interested to see what reception Luke Littler gets. I really am.
I'm not. He gets through. He beats Barney. He gets beat by James Wade, who gets beat by Luke Humphreys. And Luke Humphreys beats James Wade in that quarterfinal because it's in Germany.
I agree. I think Littler comes through Barney just because I don't think Barney will be at that level needed.
I think even with a lot of shit from the crowd, Littler will be at his level.
Barney might average 93, 94, but I don't think that will be enough.
No,
I think James Wade beats Mike De Decker. I think Luke Humphreys beats Christoph Ratajski. And I think Cameron Menzies beats Gary Anderson.
I think I agree with that.
I hate saying that, but I'm not sure Gary's played enough recently.
Menzies looked all right, hasn't
he? Yeah, he looked brilliant at the weekend.
Stable, like a lot more stable than we've seen him recently in terms of the way that he was comfortable on the hockey. And I'd go with you on that one, I think.
But I think Luke and Luke will meet in the quarterfinal, and I think Luke wins. And I'm going for Humphreys purely based on it is in Germany. I genuinely think the German crowd are going to have a massive impact on his games. I thought maybe it was just the European tour, but then when we saw it in the World Cup as well, I was like, okay. So I think the crowd are going to have a monster say and impact on that. And I think that's going to be the factor. So that's why I'm going Luke Humphreys.
Can we just note there that it's taken 222 episodes for you to back against Gary Anderson in an opening game of a tournament?
Let's mark that one down.
I think you might have backed against Gary Anderson. You might have predicted a Gary Anderson loss previously, never in an opening round.
Reverse psychology. If I don't say he's going to win, he rocks up and has an absolute stormer.
Hey, 222 episodes. You got to try something different at some point, haven't you? You got to mix it up.
Section number 3. Martin Schindler against Dave Chisnell. Ryan Joyce against Luke Woodhouse. Johnny Clayton against Ryan Searle. And Jan van Veen against Damon Heta.
I mean,
I love that, Rob.
My quarter finalist is between two players here, and they're both in the same fucking side. So they're
I complete. Is one of them Welsh and one of them Dutch?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. The winner of that game gets through.
That's the quarter final, but it's not the quarter final. They're going to play the quarter final early. So therefore, do we? Right. I can't. I'm really struggling to pick Dave Chisnell to win a game, which is why the quarter final will be Martin Schindler. The best pick? The logical pick is Johnny Clayton because Jan van Veen and Damon Heta could go either way. So picking either one of them gives you less of a chance of being right, I think, than picking Johnny Clayton. So Johnny Clayton beats Martin Schindler in the quarterfinal.
I am going Ryan Joyce plays.
Oh, I like that.
Again, Johnny Clayton, or I think Van Veen beats Heta. Just what I think Damon at the weekend, for the first time, there were question marks in his own head. Look, Damon is an incredible player, but it didn't go well at the weekend. And, when he hides his emotion better than anyone, but for the first time, we saw that emotion come out as if to say, I don't know what's going wrong and I don't know how to fix it. And I'm not saying he can't fix it, but for the first time, that was the impression and the aura that he was giving off. So I think Van Veen comes through that. Van Veen against Clayton could be an absolute humdinger. But I am going for Johnny Clayton to beat Ryan Joyce. I'm going for Johnny Clayton to win that section. Bottom and final section. Stephen Bunting against Chris Dobie. Wessel Nyman against Michael van Gerwen. Gerwin Price against Daryl Gurney. Ding, ding. Ross Smith against Peter Wright.
I think this is tough. But, again, logic tells me there is only one winner. So it's just about who comes second.
Is your only one winner Welsh?
Correct. Yeah, he's the quarter finalist. He will play. Sod it. Wessel Nyman. We're in Germany. Everything's a bit. We always get some rogue ones, don't we? In the Europeans. Yeah, let's have Wessel. Let's have Wessel getting beat by Gez.
I don't dislike that. I'm with you. I think Gerwin Price comes through that bottom section, but I think he beats Stephen Bunting. I think Bunting beats Dobie. I can't believe I'm saying this in the same show. Nyman beats MVG.
Are you all right? It's just... I mean, it's really weird because you are not doing any of the things you know you do, yet you are making an incredible amount of sense. Like
having spoken to Vincent, and look, we saw Michael pull out of the Pro Tour the way he did, with everything going on in his life, which is far more important than darts. I'm just not sure his head is going to be in the right place. I hope that is a wrong assessment, because nothing would be better than MVG rocking up in the right frame of mind. But I'm just not sure with everything going on at the moment, he's going to be. So I think Van Veen beats him. So yeah, I'm going Gerwyn Price. So chat room and you, Dan, from your semi-finalists, I would like the winner and who they beat in the final of the 2025 European Championships.
Right. So my semi-finals are Josh Rock and Luke Humphreys, and an all Welsh clash between Johnny Clayton and Gerwyn Price, which means in the final, oh, balls to it, Luke Humphreys will be beaten by Johnny Clayton.
Ooh.
It's time. It is time. We've talked about it all year, and now is the time.
I am going in the final. I agree with you. Luke Humphreys will come through the top half. I disagree with you in the bottom half. I agree with the nationality, but it will be Gerwyn Price versus Luke Humphreys in the final. And it is time. The Iceman ends the TV drought and picks up the 2025 European Championships. I'm going for Gerwyn Price to beat Luke Humphreys in an absolute epic final.
I'm here for it. I mean, I don't think if we see that, we're not going to be sat here next week going, "Oh, that was underwhelming, wasn't it?" Like, we're going to see fireworks. If that's what we see, then we're going to be. I think we will be entertained along the way.
Oh, 100% of that. There is no question. Let's go to. It's been quite a 10 days for Beau Greaves. First of all, she wins her tour card and a place at Ali Pally, which has been confirmed by her management that she will take that tour card and has picked Alexandra Palace over trying to retain her Lakeside title. First of all, your thoughts on both? For me, it's superb. One, that we're going to see Beau on tour, and two, that she is going to go to Alexandra Palace again over Lakeside.
Oh, yeah, like 100%. Like, yes to both. In two ways, like on two fronts. Like, one, as a darts fan, I am happy to see it. Like, do I want to see Beau, play at Ali Pally? Of course I do. Like, as a darts fan, I want to see, and we know all of those potential matchups that. And I think I literally put them into two categories. One gives us a blockbuster in the opening round. Others give a potential where Beau picks up a couple of wins. So depending on how that draw works out, I think it could be like, anything about that. I'm really impressed with. So as a darts fan, but I also think as a third party interested, I think it's a good decision. I think it's a wise decision. I think it's good for her future in the game. I think it's financially a sensible decision. Yeah, I think. I mean, we'll probably come to that later on. Why, and I'm not saying for a minute that she wouldn't be the very heavy favourite if she did something different.
Oh, but I don't mean this disrespectfully. but her arm would have to fall off for her not to win Lakeside.
Yeah.
I don't mean that horribly.
I know.
We're talking about levels in sport, and we've seen it on the women's series.
But I just think it's the right thing to do. I think it's exciting, isn't it? Like, everybody wants to see her do well, and we all know how good she could be. But I don't think she gets to be that good as often as she needs to be and should be, unless she's in that environment all the time, a lot. And it's got to start with, and I think it starts on that stage. I think it starts at Alexandra Palace, and it either lights the fire to start, that year on tour, or it gives her something to like come back and avenge. Like I think that's where it needs to start this time around. She's got to be there.
I think it starts at the Grand Slam. I think she puts on a clinic in those group stages.
It could happen, you know.
But obviously superb that Beau has made those decisions. But on the women's series, she picked up all 4 titles at the weekend. She's 86 matches unbeaten on the women's series. That is just ridiculous from her. That winning streak, 86 matches unbeaten, is just, I'm not sure that, look, until that streak's over, but I'm not sure that streak gets beaten again, whatever the end number ends up being.
No, it's hard. I mean, and if it does, then it'll be bloody exciting, because it means that somebody else is gonna, light up the future of darts, doesn't it? It's like if it, but no, I fear it's a record that's going to stand for a very, very long time.
100%. It is going to be absolutely ridiculous. But look, her and Fallon served up a couple of amazing finals as well. That Fallon's returned to form. She's playing in the Super Series this week as well. Because look, Beau does need a dance partner, whether that is Fallon, Lisa, or whoever. She needs a dance partner to produce as well. And the fact that she has got that dance partner, it was also good for the ladies' game.
100%. Yeah, of course it is. And then, it gets more eyes on it. I don't think there's a negative anywhere in that.
No, I completely agree. The interesting bit is going to be for me is how quickly Beau gets in the top 64 in the world, because I think she does. It's how quickly can she get in that top 64, because there are ramifications. The same as on the development tour, is once she is in that top 64, she then won't be able to play in the women's series. So that's an interesting dynamic as well for everyone else.
It is, and it'd be interesting to know how much she would want to still play on that. I mean, if she's at a point where she's going to break into the top 64 on the Pro Tour, does she still want to play women's events? Does she, is there a situation where she drops, manages her diary in order to keep playing those women's events a bit longer? I don't know. I think it probably just depends what she enjoys and what she wants to do. It would be interesting to see how quickly she can get there, though. You look at, we've only got one player so far this year that's managed to breach the top 64 in their first year with a tour card. Nico Springer. And not only has he managed to do it, he's managed to do it with fucking bells on. Like, Nico Springer's got himself up to, tour card race up to spot number 50. He's 44 grand ahead of number 64. So Nico Springer has absolutely pissed it. When you look outside of that, Bradley Brooks is sort of the best of the rest. Bradley Brooks sits about 6 grand outside of getting into that top 64 within year one. Obviously, there's still money to be earned in year one. So, the benchmark is, do you think that Beau Greaves will have a better 12 months than Bradley Brooks, Carol Sedlacek? They're sort of the best of the rest, if you like, the top two outside of Nico Springer. And yeah, probably, maybe. I don't, it wouldn't shock me if she had a better year on tour than Bradley Brooks. Not at all.
I think a lot will come down to the timing of how many Euro Tours can she qualify for. If she qualifies for 7 out of the 15, I think she gets in the top 64.
Well, Bradley, just for context, I know he's had a good day. Players Championship 21. Bradley Brooks has only qualified for two Euro Tours.
Yeah,
and he's $6,000 off spot number 64, and he's only qualified for 2. Now, I know, like I say, he has got that big lump.
Springer qualified for 9.
Yeah, there's. I don't think it needs that many. I don't think it needs that. If you look, Springer's in there by a man. I know that he's gone and done more and done, done some big things this year. Yeah, she can get there. In fact, I'd be fairly confident in saying I think she'd be there by the World Championships next year.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's a real exciting time for Beau and the mountain of Beau's fans as well, that we are going to see her compete regularly against the best. I can't remember where was it? Who asked us? Paul says, does she beat Jan van Veen in the World U final, you two? It could be about. I think it's going to be an incredible game.
I legitimately think that I think it's a 50-50. And I'm not shying away from a pick there. Like I genuinely think it is a 50-50 if they're both at it. And I see no reason why they both wouldn't be. I think it actually suits Beau quite well. Sort of the way that'll be played. I think there's more pressure on Jan than there is on Beau.
Says that there, the pressure's on Van Veen.
Yeah, I think whilst there might be a bit more interest, maybe a bit more media, it's more interesting that Beau is there. Jan back to back, etc. But I think the pressure's all on Jan van Veen. I think it's about as close to a 50-50 as you can get.
Yeah. Evening, Fraser. Hope you are good, my friend. Off the back of the women's series and the ladies season within the PDC, the World Championships spots are locked, and for the first time, we have five women competing at Alexandra Palace. They will be Beau Greaves, Fallon Sherrick, Lisa Ashton, Nolan van Leuven, and Gemma Hayter will make her debut in there. She had a playoff game effectively. It was only Kirsty Vinakainen who could have stopped her, and Gemma beat her in the last event, booking her place there. It's an exciting time that we're going to see 5 women at Alexandra Palace, and it just shows how far it's come.
Yeah, 100%. Like, really good. The more the better. Obviously, I think it's fair with the expansion of the World Championships that the number of women goes up with it. And I hope that it is. I hope those games are competitive. They can be. Like there is levels in all of them that can beat a decent percentage of the potential draws. Obviously, you've got to see the draw really before you can get really into where we think, because again there is so much. I mean, and this is with the greatest of respect of those qualifying through the women's tour, etc. Like there's players in there that I don't give 80% of the main order of merit a chance against if they meet them early in the World Championship. So like it does depend on the draw a little bit. But I also think that there are a lot of big names or names that are relatively famous, people who've played in the Premier League in recent years who are a million miles away from their best form, and they can be got at. And if the crowd gets involved at Alexandra Palace and your form is already way off and you're coming with a lot of pressure on yourself, then there are people who will be vulnerable. Make no mistake.
Yeah, completely. Look, all five have hit good numbers. Look, we've spoken about what Beau can do. We've seen what Fallon can do. She's getting back to her best. She posted some really good numbers on the Women's Series this weekend. She's playing in the Super Series this week as well. Lisa Ashton, again, incredible. We know what the Lancashire Rose can do. We've seen what Noah Lynn can do. She's won a Challenge Tour. We've seen her produce on the Women's Series and at the Grand Slam last year. And Gemma Hayter, only a few weeks ago, piled in a couple of decent 99 averages at the Moda Super Series. So all five have a level over, especially the short format in round one. It's only best of 5 sets that if they play well, they will cause and pose issues to whoever they are drawn against.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think they've all got to be at their best. They all have. But if you count, that's the moment to find your best, isn't it? You've got the opportunity. You're on the big stage. You are there at the party. You've just got to you've got to try and find it.
Like, could you imagine? Look, this would probably be the PDC's worst nightmare, perhaps. But if that draw goes wrong and we get Beau or Fallon against Luke in round one, those numbers will break the internet.
Yes, it'll be quite spectacular, won't it? And it will be a spectacle, I think. And that there's a few others. I think there are a few others that could make it intriguing. Not just Littler. We know Littler does the numbers and everybody's interested. But I think a Gezi Price in that situation is a fascinating watch and is interesting. And I think the heat and the pressure on it and the crowd getting involved could be interesting. I think I definitely think that there's a lot of potential in when those draws are made. Reserve some very interesting games. But yeah, if you get someone, if you get a Beau or a Fallon pulled against a Littler, then it is going to be the eyes of the world will be on it, and it'll be interesting to see how everybody handles that.
100%. Off the back of obviously things that have happened over the weekend, we have had the prize money confirmed for the WDF events. Now, first of all, I will say congratulations. And I said this in my tweet. It's great that they have managed to get a prize pot of over 200k for the tournament together, because I wasn't sure that they would. So that is a massive achievement. However, my issue with the distribution of prize money, I think they've dropped the ball. I know they did it last year and it got some kickback, but in the current climate we are in, where travel costs are through the earth and so on, I think it's a massive own goal in the way that this has been distributed.
Yeah, and I get it. I understand that. I understand that they probably feel that they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. Because in order to prop up the bottom, you've got to cut the top. And if you cut the top, everyone's sat here going, oh, look how shit it is. They're only getting X, this amount. And you balance that out more. So then you get a load of crap, and you get and that comes on it. And then don't forget as well, like there are other tournaments that offer big prizes, and you might not be able to play in both of those tournaments. And I get it, but you have to think really seriously about just that, like you said, the physical logistics of people. Like if it is this is a world championship, like, and a world championship, you would hope for people from all around the world to be able to attend. It's incredibly difficult for people from all around the world to attend if they know that they're only going to end up with 750 quid out of it. Worst case scenario, because there are a lot of places. If you look at the lineup from last year and you look at the type of parts of the world that people were coming from, 750 quid don't get you a return flight to a lot of those places.
Well, not when you've paid, because you. Okay, let me rephrase this. You're meant to pay tax on that. Whether some people try and chance it, that's completely up to them. But this is taxable as well.
Yes. Correct. So, yeah. But so
by the time you take that off as well, and I thought it said.
It depends how much you've won for the rest of the year. It might be within some people's allowance. There was some of these lads might not have hit their personal allowance yet, so they might be fine with that 750 quid, just because that amount might fly under the radar. You see. But you know, like when you look at, you know, I'm literally looking down at the lineup from last year, and you know, there is an awful lot of players that have travelled from the oceanic regions, lots from Asia in there as well, and you look and you think you're not getting a return flight, and that's before you have gone anywhere like towards like your accommodation and your just sustenance, just keeping yourself for that time. And then if you've had to take time off work to be off work, I get it, because if you drop the top, the only way you can lift the bottom end is to drop the top end. And if you drop the top end, what have you got left to bring people there? Especially if people are looking at the ADC Global and thinking, well, if I'm really targeting a win, why would I not target that one? Because I think I can go and win something. Like, I know the bottom end, the round one isn't as high a pay. But I just think this event, I think it should. We would like it to be better.
So
we all would.
It was interesting. This was before Alex Spellman won the Continental Cup. I deliberately asked him it before he'd won. That he said he was genuinely thinking about turning Lakeside down if he didn't make Ali Pally because of the prize money, and he's potentially seeded 3. That sends out a horrific message. If potentially your number 3 seed, I think he was 3 when I looked, he might not be now, turns it down because of the prize money. That's a horrific look.
It's grim, isn't it? But like, what is, you know, if let's say he performs as his seeding suggests and makes a semi-final. Like
he said that. He said, look, I could win it. He said, but you've always got to look at worst case scenario.
If he performs to his seeding, then he's got $8,000. Now, flights to and from America, accommodation in London for that amount of time off work at the other end,
living expenses for the 10 days you're over here or whatever.
Exactly. And I know that Alex might be able to double that up and pick some extra bits up while he's over here in terms of darts. But, you know, and if he performs to his seeding level, then he's got $8,000. I don't know how much of that ends up being net profit.
Half.
If that.
I was being nice.
If
the,
that.
the other interesting bit is if the ADC hadn't have announced that their first prize was 60k, would the WDF have lowered theirs? Or is it a case of, like you say, almost for want of a better phrase, a dick measuring contest? We can't lower it because we look shit against them. Is that played into the strategy?
I think you could. I think that sentence is still accurate if you take the against them off the end as well. I think if you lower it, you look shit. Because let's be honest, it is a step backwards for any tournament in the world, no matter, or any competition, whatever it is. If the prize one year is less than it was the year before, then it is immediately the man on the street test. Isn't everyone? I could ask the kids could explain to me that that's a step backwards. Like it is a step, in the wrong direction. It doesn't show growth and it doesn't show progression. And I think that's why anyone would be reluctant to lower that top end money, because that's the headline. The headline is you can come and you can win 50 grand. I think if you lower that, it demonstrates a backward step, and it demonstrates that things aren't getting better.
Yeah. Mr. Spellman is in the chat room. Congratulations, my friend. Paul, just to put on that, you said, remember, it's an amateur championship. Now, when the WDF first took over the running of it, I asked this question to someone who was high up, and the exact answer given to me was, because I asked about should it have amateur world championship in the title if it's an amateur, the answer I was given back was, we are not an amateur organisation, we are an alternative to the PDC. That was the line that was given. And we haven't had any update from that, so I will presume that is still accurate. But the other point in all this that I'm going to bring up, and like Alex said there, cost comparison, risk and reward. I did some digging and asked players and did some fact finding. Now, I'm only using the WDF Open Competition Prize Fund in this, as in regards to the ADC Global. So the prize fund for the Open one at Lakeside is 146k compared to 160k for the ADC Global. Again, not too much difference. That's still very good prize money.
Story, is it? It's not.
Here's the bit that is the kind of kicker. So, and this is just rough. This isn't gospel. This is just a rough estimate and speaking to players. So the rough cost of expenses to qualify for Lakeside is somewhere between 15 and 17k for the year to get to Lakeside. Where the qualification for the ADC is around $1,000 to $1,200. That's the difference, is the outlay to get to Lakeside is massive compared to the outlay on average. This isn't, I understand that in different parts of the world it will be different, but this is an average. The cost to get to the global is a lot lower. So as a player, you are then winning percentage.
Yeah, and let's be honest. Yeah, if you live, if you live in Singapore, then it's irrelevant which part of the south of England the tournament is in, because most of your expenses are going to be getting yourself to the south of England. But there is a significant difference in prices in just accommodating yourself in the two areas in which they take place. And unfortunately, that is something that is, it's like a blessing and a curse, isn't it? Because the WDF are able to hold the tournament in a historic venue, one of the most historic venues in darts. And that carries a huge amount of prestige, and a lot of people find it incredibly important. But it is, and there's no real argument about it. It is particularly expensive to locate yourself around that area. It's also, it's still more expensive to be doing things in other areas of the south of England, which is why they should do them in the northeast, Philip, where it's nice and cheap up here.
Well, that is one thing I should come about. Paul, I have asked the General Secretary for a sit-down interview on numerous occasions and not had a reply to correspondence. So I have tried to ask the question, but have not got anywhere very quickly. The other thing is, as Rob says there, I think in relation to, especially in the UK, which is what we look at a little bit more, the ADC have made an incredible move and a very clever move in splitting their tour into North and South next year. So again, that lowers travel costs again. And I think that is an incredibly smart move from them to have a North hub and a South hub.
Well, especially sighting half of it in Teesside is a massively advantageous decision. I think it's a brilliant idea. I might even go along. I could get the bus. I wouldn't get the bus. I've never got a bus, but I could. And I like the fact that the option is there.
Yeah. I just think that at the moment, I think the ADC are playing everything smarter in their approach at the moment.
Yeah, and don't forget, I mean, to provide a little, not so much balance, but it's easier to be on the way up than it is to be struggling to stop things falling. Like it is easy, so I get that, because you get a free hit, you can make mistakes, you can do everything for the first time. You do get a bit of a free pass, but it's difficult to see them doing a lot wrong. Like what I find is I think the way I often phrase it is sometimes the WDF can make it too easy for me and you and others, but it's too easy to sort of spot the holes and spot the problems and spot why that would be a bad idea or spot why that might create a problem. And sometimes it can be a bit too easy to do that. I think that it's harder with the ADC. Now, it's not always been, but at the moment, the way things are going, the trajectory that they're on is much harder. You've got to work a lot harder to try and pick fault or look for improvements and think about how things could have been done better. And I think that's how I would summarize it.
And Paul, I get my history is checkered. However,
mine's not.
When we are
not all the same.
But when we are offering an organisation a chance to showcase their product and give answers to darts fans on one of the biggest darts platforms in the world, by them just ignoring it, it's an own goal. There was a chance for them to put a lot of good out, and it wasn't taken. So
Phil would even sit in the background if they didn't touch it. If they didn't trust him, he'd let me do it.
Yeah, but
whoever gets the job done.
There are questions that needed to be asked and that players wanted to know. The other thing as well is, I'm not going to name those players yet, but I know of at least 2 players that have qualified for both and are picking the global over Lakeside.
What I think is still a risk, and it's a risk if you're trying to sell tickets, is there is absolutely no guarantee that the players that are the best players and the players that people might want to buy a ticket to go and see will be there. And especially let's be really your local players are more likely to shift you more tickets among family and friends and people that want to come and see them do well. that the risk is that they go and do another tour, and that you don't just lose that player, but you also lose the minibus or two's worth of tickets that they would have sold for people to come and watch their matches. Because sometimes at this level, and you want to, whether it's classified as amateur or semi-professional or whatever it is, there is still a level of ticket sales in that is, players bringing people along. There are people that will just come for the, to watch it. Of course they will. But yeah, like what I wanted to say, Richie Howson and Kevin Edwards at the time, on the seniors, like that event, I don't think sells anywhere near as many tickets without those two lads in it. Like they made a huge contribution to the amount of people in that room, and therefore the atmosphere and everything else that was going on. And I think that you aren't going to get as many of the local fans turning out to see some of the international, but they're going to turn out to see people they know. You want friends and family to be dragged along to these events. And if some of them are going to go to the other event instead, you lose their ticket sales as well as their prestige.
Well, on the ticket sales, when you look at the numbers, ticket sales for Lakeside have been very good. My concern is how many of them have bought tickets expecting to see Beau and so on.
Yeah, and that's difficult because you aren't able to really give many assurances. And I know that darts is only funny. Like, I've bought tickets, and you buy tickets for day 1 or day 6, and you never, the look of the draw is who you get to see. But it's one thing being unlucky with the draw, and it's another thing that tournament just not being really what you hoped it would be. You never had a chance to see this person or that person because they were never there.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. It's interesting to see how that plays out. But yeah, look, great. They've got some prize fund. I think it's a massive own goal in the distribution of it. Let's go across the pond to North America. And Mr. Spellman is in the chat room, and it was him who had an incredible weekend. Congratulations to Alex booking a return to Alexandra Palace, a debut at the Grand Slam of Darts, and picking up his second CDC Continental Cup. The Jackal, and I am pleased, is going to be back on our screens in a big way in what was a really good tournament. Kudos to the guys from the CDC. It was great to watch. The standard was good. There was so many pluses from it. I really enjoyed the action from Philadelphia over the weekend.
Yeah, it was once again across the board delivered to a really high level. Not just the darts, the everything about the production, the standard across the board continues to rise. I was incredibly pleased to see Alex get that spot. I think there's no secret that I wanted that to happen. I really wanted to see him get that opportunity to get over for the slam. But across the board, the lads there do an incredible job. I still think that they are the sort of the gold standard for affiliate tours. I think that's what the rest of them should be aiming for and working towards, and where we see other organisations looking to develop darts. I think that you could do very little wrong in looking at what the chaps that run that organisation do. Like I say, and I think that I talked about earlier about the WWF and how you have a fear of not looking like you're going forwards and that you are stagnating or going backwards. You're forced to keep that prize money where it is. I think one of the things that we are constantly seeing, and it highlights it when we see annual events, because you can see the progress that's being made in the CDC. You can literally look. It's very clear that it's on an upward trajectory. When you look back over previous years and you look at where the production's going, but also you look at the rest of the winners have always been of a high level because there's always been talent in that region. But what's happening is the talent pool is increasing. the games are becoming far more competitive. You have to work a lot harder and be a lot better to get to the back end of these tournaments. And we are just starting to see more and more of progression. And again, I think, whilst it's absolutely superb, and I'm really pleased to see Alex get that spot, like, I don't think Alex is under any illusion that he needs to be looking over his shoulder, and that, the fact that he's managed to get that spot at the Slam and at the World Championships, like, it's not a comfortable spot when it comes to looking at next year, because the competition is so high and the quality of the other players in that region is increasing. That if you don't keep at it and you don't keep leveling up, then you it could be a short-lived spell at the top of that tree.
Yeah, look, there was a moment in the final, and Alex has spoken about it in the interview that we did after the final, and it's on our YouTube channel, so go and check it out. But the moment of magic, and if someone had done that on a PDC stage going into a break, we'd be waxing lyrical over it. But I'm going to anyway, because it was that good, where Cameron is sat on a double for a potential 6-1 lead at the break, and Alex takes out a 1-4-6, as clean as you will see, to completely change the dynamic of that final. And from there, it almost shell-shocked Cameron into submission. It was just an incredible moment that turned the final around.
Oh yeah, 100%. But that's what this is what you need to do. That's the level that you're at. That's the level that the game is at there now, and that's what you need to be able to do. You need to have that up your sleeve. You need to have that in your arsenal if you are going to be successful. And again, it bodes very well for that tour producing players to come over and be competitive in other big events, because they know they've got that in them. They know that they can do that. They know that they can produce that when it's really needed. They know they're not beaten yet. They know they can turn this game around, etc., etc. It's and it will continue to get more and more coverage, which is good. Like I said, it's going that way, and is it going that way as fast as we would all love? Yeah. In some ways, yes, and in some ways, no. I think in the way that the darts is moving forwards, yes, and I think the way the organisation is moving forward, yes. I think we do still need the North American public to catch on to darts better. I think the PDC has a job to do, a role to fill, maybe is a fairer way of putting it, because they aren't a governing body. I think the PDC probably has a role to fill in that, and that will only further improve everything, and especially the level, because you'll get more involvement and you'll get more people committing to it. The more people involved, the better sponsors will come in, and the money goes up, and people commit more time to it, etc., etc.
Oh yeah, 100%. And someone asked how many North Americans are going to Q School. So from just the different bits of media that I've done with them, that Cameron is going, Savada is going, Leonard was umming and ahhing, but with that smirk across his face, I think he will. Jason Brandon said he was going. I would love Mr. Spellman to go. I know we've had this conversation.
We'll have it again. We'll have this conversation again within between now and Q School, I'm certain. I'm sure.
Yeah, I would love Alex to go. But look, the talent pool that is there, look, I'd love Stowe Bunce to go, but look, we know his circumstances, work and family-wise, he just can't. But again, it is so good. And look, the production was decent. They had little Richard there, emceeing it and comparing it, which was superb. The whole thing is just on the right trajectory. And like I say, I would like to see, like you say, with the PDC, and I understand finances and so on, that this is a pipe dream at the moment, but if you don't dream or don't have those aspirations, you'll never know. I would like to see a North American tour start a bit like the European tour. The European tour started as a baby all those years ago, where could we have a 4-week or a 4-weekend tour in North America with the PDC stars over there in conjunction with the CDC, so the American public get to see the very elite and the very best of North America as well. I think it's a good hand-in-hand makeup if timing's allowed, and this is all if buts and maybes. I understand that, and financials and commercials and so on, but you could do it that you go the 4 weeks before, culminating in the World Series event in New York to kind of box off that little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's more that can be done. I've said for years that again, it's a different conversation, but I want the World Cup to go on tour. I don't want the World Cup in the same place every year. I would do the year one of the World Cups on tour. I would have a World Cup in North America. That's where I would do it. It makes an awful lot of sense. It's actually a lot easier for a lot of people to get to than Great Britain. So I would, infrastructure wise, it's very good. It's fairly easy to accommodate people. Like I would do that. I would also, we've seen recently Premier League night move to a different country. I have no problem at all with a Premier League night in Madison Square Garden. Absolutely none at all. Or anywhere else in America for that fact, if you could sell enough tickets to make the room full and get some atmosphere in. But yeah, I'd have no problem with getting a Premier League night in there. I think you can do it. I think you can turn it around. I think you can give people enough recovery time to get them there and back. I think a Premier League night would work there. I think there's other things that can be done just to help push that sport along. I think as hard as the CDC work and as good a job as they do, like, it does need the big boys to get a lot of people interested. I think that's really important. I think, you still need the Littlers and the Gezzies and the Humphreys to bring eyes on the sport played at its very highest level. So I still think they're important.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it would be great to see. But kudos to everyone involved with the CDC. Congratulations to Alex Spellman. I can't wait to see him on that Grand Slam stage in only a few weeks' time. That will be very, very good indeed. But also 2026, remember, the CDC will return full tour. I'm not sure they've released the dates as of yet, but we'll have the tour, the Continental Cup, the Cross Border Challenge, the North American Darts Championship, and of course the US Darts Masters as part of the World Series. It is an exciting time to be a player in North America.
100%. Certainly is.
So that would be absolutely sensational, and I can't wait to just see that unfold. Which will be good. The Grand Slam is filling up. Nico Springer's spot has now been confirmed as well. Still places on offer. Still places to be decided. Obviously, the European champion and the runner-up spots are currently blank at the moment. Challenge Tour gets decided this weekend, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
So we will know there. So it's an exciting time for the Slam as well.
Yeah, I was having a look. I was picking my way through earlier, looking at who was in it and what people might need to do to get in it, and I do think it's interesting. I think the lineup is very, very interesting. I always find the lineup for the Slam interesting, but I think this year's is going to be particularly fun. It's probably a good way of putting it. But yeah, there is still a couple of spots on offer. It's interesting. I was having a look to see if we had to drop as far as if we have to drop into the Players' Championships, then who that would be, but I think everybody that has picked up multiples is already qualified in some way. Are they? Maybe not. Maybe Chris Dobie, Damon Heta, Joe Cullen, perhaps all on 2. Interesting. Still opportunities though. Yeah, still interesting. It could get there'll be some big names not there.
Oh, 100%. It will be mad. Mr. Spellman, thank you very much, mate. Always a pleasure to have you in. And I hope it's all sunk in, buddy. It's going to be good. That is for sure. Right. What else have we missed in a week of darts? I think we've done all right so far tonight with that, to be fair. I don't think we've missed anything glaringly obvious, have we, chat room? I'm back through the chat room just to see. Yeah, final challenge.
What we missed off the WDF was the telly coverage. We missed that.
Oh, yes, sorry, we did. No, look, good news. That is it. SC4,
S4C.
Look, they did a great job at the home nation or the Six Nations, sorry, and so on. So again, that is very, very good.
Yeah, so I think, and again, as far as I understand the coverage, if you're in Wales, that's on, free view, so you can put your telly on and it's on. If you're outside of Wales, I think it's on Sky and Virgin Media. And, I think it's wherever I think if you've got a telly, you'll be able to see it. So that's what I've always cared about. Is it on the telly? Can I turn my TV on? If somebody says to me what channel's the darts on, can I rattle off a channel and tell them where to find it? Like that's what you've got to make it simple for people to be able to watch it. And that does seem to be the case. So good that it's going to be on the telly.
Yeah, 100%. It was that is really, really good news. And the production was good. And that's always been my bugbear of not just this is any darts tournament. The production has to be good.
Agreed.
Shit production, you turn it off. Good production, you watch it, regardless of the standard of what you're watching on the stage. You could have 2 players averaging 77, and it'd be a good battle and drama. If there's production shit, I'm turning it off. So that is a very, very good move that they are involved.
Yeah, we need the sound quality needs to be decent. Everything. The way the cameras move around and it can become unbearable really quickly if it's not good.
Premier League tickets went on sale today, and I saw a lot of frustrated people online, and I get the frustration.
What's the frustration? Is the frustration that they've missed out on tickets? I've been to work today like a grown up, so I'm going
to throw a however into this that for years and years darts has not been popular, so people have always managed to get tickets. I understand that. Darts is now rock and roll. Darts is now popular. So darts is just now having the same issues as concert tickets, football tickets, and so on. The demand is that big. It's going to happen. Now, I saw people saying, this system's not fit for purpose and so on. It's the same system that was used for Oasis tickets and so on. It's the only way. Look, unfortunately, there are only X amount of tickets available. And if X is bigger than what's there is going to be a queue. There is going to be a waiting system and so on. That's just life, unfortunately. That darts is now popular and people want to go and watch.
Yeah, it's its own worst enemy, isn't it? Because if it's empty, it's shit, and nobody's interested, and the atmosphere's crap, and then all of a sudden it's stacked and full, and nobody can get a ticket. It's not going to get any better. So you don't get your hopes up, because it isn't going to get any better. More people are going to want to see darts. The tickets are going to start selling out quicker unless we get to bigger and better venues. It's difficult to really come up with much to offer on it, because You're right, but all it is it's what's happened in all other in lots of other sports and concert tickets and things like that for a long time. I've been on the waiting list for a season ticket at Newcastle for 4 years, 5 years. They haven't sold one. Like they haven't sold a new ticket. Like it's just like because all the tickets that go back in just get rehashed as hospitality ticket, like extra hospitality. So everything's hard work to get a ticket, and unfortunately, if you haven't got a ticket, somebody else has, and they are as deserving as anybody else to go and see something, because you can make the case and say, well, I've been every year for the last 10 years, I deserve to go. And then someone could make the counter argument and say, well, come on, that's not fair. That person never gets a chance to go. They've never been before. So they deserve a chance more than you who's been 10 times. So like you can make the case both ways. And people will always just make the case that, well, I'd like to go, so I deserve a ticket. But everybody else thinks that as well.
Yeah, 100%. And like Craig Showman, I get but even if PDC priority didn't exist, this issue would still be the same if it was just, right, we're on sale at 10 a.m. It would still be bang.
But isn't that just a perk for subscribing to their TV service?
It is, but the problem is they've got that many on there that tickets don't go on general sale now because they're all sold out, where people and touts and so on have bought a membership because they know they can get tickets early.
Well, touting's a different issue, I think, and it's not so much like that's a bigger problem across all aspects of being, buying tickets. It's not touting isn't specifically a problem for darts. Like it just isn't. It's across the board for all sorts. And I actually think that darts isn't as bad as a lot of other.
No, and to be fair, the PDC do actually good job on that. That I think they recovered over the whole match play. I think they before play started. I think they recovered over 500 tickets across all sessions, and then put them back on sale because they'd matched them to people selling them on secondary sites.
Yeah, I think
I think that's actually that they actually do a good job in that respect.
Yeah, but I don't think it's not a darts problem, is it? It's a problem. It's a society problem rather than a darts problem. I've never really understood it. I think it's. I do understand it. Of course, I do. But I've never really understood why more can't be done to shut it down. Once we have, universal digital ID cards, then it'll be easy, won't it? Your ticket will be attached to your digital ID card. The Labour Party have solved this problem, Philip.
Oh, sorry.
We nearly became a very different podcast then for a minute, didn't we?
We almost went very rogue then.
We nearly became a very different podcast.
And the other thing is with all this, if you can't get a ticket to the PDC, go and visit either onlinedarts.com, dartshop.tv, or mdaevents.co.uk, because they've got some very, very good exhibitions for the rest of this year and in 2026, where you can see all these players up close and in person doing their thing.
Yeah, you don't even know who you're going to see in the Premier League yet. Lineup might be shit. So, there's lots of other places you can go and see darts. Go and watch the WDF. Go and watch, if you want to go and experience darts and go and see it, you get a ticket. Let me know. I'll sort you out somewhere. Come to Middlesbrough. There's going to be loads of darts on in Middlesbrough. Come to Teesside. I can't make any promises on quality, I'm afraid. Let's to be up. The production's fucking good because the darts won't be.
Are we gonna have a Friday night press conference before as well? Yeah.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, we'd have to do the full lot. Yeah, post match press conference, full work. It's the only way to get. We need every viewer we can. Every viewer we can.
Oh, it would be funny. But yeah, that was that. Obviously, coming up this week, loads coming up with some interviews dropping. One with Vincent van der Voort dropping this week.
Well, that'd be interesting. How did you have to use the bleep button a lot?
He's not. He hasn't got a tour card. He can say what he wants. He's not governed by the DRA.
Oh, very good. You haven't even bleeped him. Marvellous. I look forward to that. I'll make sure my kids don't see it.
Billy knows all those words anyway. But,
yeah, I know it because I'm staying up and watching this show.
remember, Billy, just don't tell your mum.
We keep catching him in the chat room.
So yeah, and then obviously Dortmund we've got coming up as well, which will be good. Should we open up questions, Simon?
Oh, 9 full minutes of questions.
We haven't done a decent question time for a while. Before we do, the Australian Premier League. Ben Robb wins night number 3. Again, impressed with everything. I know a couple of our Australian friends were in the chat room over the weekend, and they said Canberra was the worst event in terms of ticket numbers sold on the tour, and it still looked good. So if that was the case, if Canberra was the worst, that's a good sign.
Yeah, well, without a shadow of a doubt, nice to see a different winner. I think the last thing you want to see is repetition. People do moan about repetition in Premier League darts events. So yeah, really, really pleased to see that. Ben Robb, we know is a talent. It's good to see him being able to ply his trade in this way, in competitive matches with people coming out and watching it. If that continues, you've got to remember as well, this is the first time around. This is something new, and we spend that much time criticizing things that when we do see something new, I think we have to take on board that is what it is. It's on the up. It's on the it's on the rise, and it is better than what we had last year. So yeah, I think it's really good to see.
The other one, the sad news as well, that John McDonald, the World Championships will be the last time we see Johnny Mack on a PDC stage.
Oh man, it's very sad because he has become so iconic. He is also, I mean, not as much as you, but I have been lucky enough to spend time with John behind that stage, and he's a very, very, very decent chap as well. He's a very, very nice man. He tells an incredible story. I can't remember meeting a man that has as many stories as John. Like he is an unbelievably good raconteur. Like he's a teller of very interesting stories, and I think he will be a big loss. Very, very big shoes to fill. Very big shoes to fill. So interesting to see what happens next there. I don't know whether the answer is someone within darts. I don't know whether the answer is somebody from outside of darts. I don't know whether the answer is someone from another sport. I don't know what the answer is. But I think they're very, very big shoes to fill. I think so. What I've found interesting is there's loads. There's loads. There are a number of names being mentioned. What I find interesting is a lot of the names being mentioned are all people who sort of half exist within darts already, and I thought that was relatively short-sighted, given that John McDonald himself has worked across a number of different sports. Like I'm unsure why we haven't seen some of the better-known darts boxing announcers mentioned. Like why? I don't know why that would be.
They're not very good anymore.
Oh, there's people out there though, Philip.
There's also some shit in boxing now as well.
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. There is, but there's people who are crap at every job getting away with it, Philip. So I don't think that's not something exclusive. But
just once, I would love this. Could you imagine on a PDC stage, ladies and gentlemen? We are ready. The players are ready, and it's tungsten time.
No problem with that at all. Absolutely no problem at all with that. But yeah, I do genuinely think that some of the, a lot of the selections that I just think it's maybe a little bit short-sighted. You maybe need to look out into the world, and there's got to be some talented people out there somewhere. And are they necessarily doing that now? Maybe they're in the theatre. Maybe there's talent out there, isn't there enough? But I do think he's got very, very big shoes to fill, both on the stage and as a bloke. Just as a person in and around, because he's a really big personality and a very, very I think he'd be a big miss.
Warren says, which 3 walk-ons would you most like to consign to room 101? Top of the list is Daryl Gurney, Sweet Caroline.
Yeah, if there's 3 different versions, the remix of Sweet Caroline and the instrumental version of Sweet Caroline. If that'd be my 3, the original, the remix, and the instrumental version. There's 3. Then I'd go with an orchestral version of Sweet Caroline if I needed to expand it. One like a sort of jazzy lift music version of Sweet Caroline. That's all. No, and any
Dirks I'm putting in there as well.
Oh, anything that's classed as like that, I would consider like Euro trance, like sort of anything that's sort of hard trance. Controversially, I can't get up for Mr. Brightside.
Oh
no, it's just for me, it's like it's too much. It's become a parody of itself. You might as well have the Macarena. Like I just think it's been done too many times over and over again, and I just think it's it is certainly not as bad as some of the others, but I think that's it's not.
To be fair, Peter's right here. Daryl Gurney's new European walk-on was fucking awful. That was
Oh yeah, Ice Baby can piss off and get in the bin as well.
Hey, stop, collaborate and listen.
No, that can go. But the answer is not Raw by Katy Perry as well. So that is not the answer. I'm afraid. I've got probably a big list.
Where was I can't remember who asked us. Yeah, Tom said dark horse for the European Championships. Van Veen.
It depends what are we able to pick as a dark horse without being controversial? Like how far down the rankings can I go? Is Johnny Clayton a dark horse? I picked him to win. I picked him for a final. Like I don't know. It depends. Oh, but if we're doing Euro Tour rankings, then we might get away with some of the dark horses. Like can I have
Euro Tour rankings?
I could have Luke Humphreys, can't I, as a dark horse? Because if we're exclusively using Euro Tour rankings, then I might be okay on that one.
That'll be interesting. Bring back Baby Shark. Remember when Johnny Mac got caught singing Makuru's?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a novelty, but I wouldn't like to think I had to listen to it every week. not every week.
That would be quite funny, to be fair. Right. What else? Dark horse is hard because it's like how far do you go? Because if we're calling a true dark horse, I don't think any of them have got a chance.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, that is half the problem, isn't it?
Yeah,
the proper dark horses are going to get slapped about by the best players in the world.
Yeah,
but. Yeah, I mean, let's have a look at that draw. You could have Wessel as a dark horse if you can turn Gezi over.
Yeah,
it's the easier half for him to pick his way through. I don't think you could question that he was a dark horse pick. I think that's fairly okay, but you could have that. Danny Noppert people will still accept, and I think Danny's always got the potential to do well and go deep and be very steady. But people will, I think he is the consummate dark horse. Like Danny Noppert could be ranked number 2 in the world, and he'd still sort of come across as a bit of a dark horse that you didn't really think was going to get, to the end. So,
yeah, I tell you what, it has flown by tonight. It is absolutely motored past. You guys have absolutely rocked it. Remember, we will be bringing you coverage from the European Championships come Thursday. So make sure you are subscribed for that. This will be available as an audio only in the morning. So wherever you get your podcast from, you can listen to it back on audio only. But you guys have absolutely rocked it today. I've been Phil Bars, Dan Simpson. We have been the Online Darts Live Lounge, and we'll see you all next Monday when will we have a new European champion? Time will tell.